So I know it is raining out, but the lighting in my house is really shitty, so I decided to come out here to get better lighting, even though the audio is going to be a little bit less quality because it's raining. But I wanted to talk about how we could very easily enter into a post-scarcity civilization. It's just that the elites don't want us to do that. Now, how we could do this is, firstly, by not throwing out as much food as we do. There are plants, specifically fruits, but also veggies, which are thrown out simply because they do not look perfect. Now, in France, they've actually instituted, I don't know if it's a law, but most of the grocery stores actually have a section specifically for ugly food, which would have been thrown out just for being ugly, and it's at a reduced cost to the consumer. So we could do that here. Another thing that we could do is butchers. Butchers throw out food just because they are uncommon items. For example, the face of an animal gets thrown out. The skull and the face of the animal gets thrown out simply because people don't generally find it appealing. Marrow is also thrown out. Marrow is very nutritious and also very delicious if you've ever eaten it cooked properly. Marrow is thrown out just because people don't tend to eat it. Internal organs, another thing, thrown out just because people don't tend to eat it. Now, there's a lot of people who would say that, we throw out food that's fallen on the ground, but there's good reasons for that. You don't want pests or parasites that could actually get into the food just by it falling on the ground for a few minutes. You also don't want that bacteria on the food. But we do throw out a lot of perfectly good food just because it's uncommon or undesirable, not generally considered to be desirable. Another thing that we can do is replace grass lawns with gardens. Now, that's not to say that we replace industrial farming with garden lawns, or with lawn gardens, but we can supplement it. We can increase our level of abundance by growing more food. And even if, you were trying to go totally off-grid with your garden, there are examples of 1/10 of an acre gardens which feed a family of 4 or even a family of 5. Traditional farming is actually one of the worst possible ways to do things. Some plants take nutrients out of the soil, other plants put nutrients back in the soil. And traditional farming, which it's not permaculture, it's monoculture. So you don't get plants that are putting nutrients back in the soil. You also don't get natural pesticide or pest repellent properties from plants by doing monoculture. And this is why they've had to institute GMO in order to outperform organic gardening, is because they do monoculture. And even with this GMO, they still don't outperform organic permaculture if done properly. But another thing that they do is they only focus on 3 primary nutrients in the soil, when in reality, you want dozens of nutrients in the soil. The more nutrients in the soil, the healthier the plants will be. And someone just screamed over there, I got distracted. But the more nutrients in the soil, the more healthy the plants will be, the bigger fruit they will produce, and the less damage pests will actually do to them. And there are examples of people having 1/10 of an acre on which they grow a garden, and they feed a family of 5. 90% of their diet comes from that garden. So this whole you need an acre to feed one person is not true at all. It's a myth, which is debunked. And there are dozens of examples of this sort of thing. You can actually convert a swimming pool into an aquaponics system. And that requires you to take food out of it every day, just so that the system does not overpopulate and die off by virtue of that alone. There's a family in Arizona who they had a duckweed filtration system, and they grew tilapia in their swimming pool. And they didn't even have the whole pool filled up. They had nearly 1,000 tilapia in their pool. And that's just the deep end. They don't have the whole pool filled. But they have to take out one tilapia, at least one, every day. Otherwise it will overpopulate and die off from that. They also have to take out the duckweed, which is a superfood, by the way. And they have to clean that out, because otherwise that'll overgrow and kill off the system. And they, the way that they did it was really cool. They had a fence over the deep end, so their chickens would lay in there. Their chickens would stay in that fenced off area over top of the swimming pool, so that when they pooped, the poop would go down into the pool and provide food for the fish and food for the other plants, more nutrients. And then they would pump that nutrition-filled water out through duckweed, which would then grow even more food. So we could easily enter into a post-scarce civilization, at least a post-scarce food market. We could do that so easily. And we are very close anyway. But we could eliminate hunger and poverty in all of North America and still have food left over to send to the third world. Smart things like this are not being carried out. They should be. Thank you for watching. Peace out.